10, Houston, we want you to keep the primary back pressure valve closed for about 15 minutes, and then we'll stand by. 10, Houston, at GET of 30, we'd like you to put the primary back pressure valve back in auto and deactivate the secondary loop.
Roger, understand you want, at 30, you want to deactivate the secondary loop and go back to auto on the primary boiler.
Affirm, Gene.
We've had LOS at the Vanguard be about a minute gap between Vanguard and the Canary Islands station, showing a liftoff time of 12:49:00.70 Eastern Daylight Time. This is Apollo Control. We should be picking up the Canaries any time now. We'll continue to stand by. We do have AOS, acquisition of signal, at Canaries now.
Apollo 10 to Houston, standing by through the Canaries.
Roger, 10, we've been loud and clear. We basically completed our insertion checklist.
Roger, copy. And 10, Houston, would you like for me to review this ring 2 heater check?
Why don't you do that? Jose's already down in the LED.
Okay, Tom, we'd like for you to, we got a 7-step procedure here, and I'll read it up to you. On panel 8, CB CM heaters 2 main B closed, CM RCS logic on, CM RCS heaters on. I want you to heat ring 2 for 15 minutes, and you can select position C5 on the systems test and monitor the aux line temp.
Oh, shut first.
Correct. 10, your first step would be to close the RCS propellant isolation valve on ring 2.
We'll go ahead and do that right now, Charlie.
Okay, then you can, then we'd like, if you're going to close the prop valve right now, we'd like you to turn the heaters on too.
We'll turn the heaters on right now.
Affirm. And then after 10, Houston.
Okay, Charlie, we're going through the procedure. The heater's on.
Roger.
Okay, and we'll turn them off after 15 minutes, and you say we can monitor what on C5?
You can monitor the oxidizer line temp on C5. It'll probably be off scale high, but if you see any change, we'd appreciate you telling us.
Oh, Roger. Okay, we got that, Charlie.
10, after 15 minutes, we'd like you to turn the heater off, RCS logic off, and open both heater circuit breakers.
Hey, Roger, we'll do, Houston. Charlie, it's just fantastic to be back up here again. Fantastic, really.
Man, you guys really sound great up there.
Yeah, Charlie, after 2 years, it seems a long time, but here comes the coast of Africa again, and it looks beautiful.
Yeah, I bet. Wish we were there with you. Next time
It makes you feel, I think we all feel great.
Right, next time we're going to put a cot on board, and one of us is going along.
Roger.
That was Gene Cernan and Tom Stafford conversing with Charlie Duke. Both very happy to be back in orbit.
Apollo 10, Houston, the P-52 is your option. It really looked great during the launch phase. We have an azimuth correction of -0.11.
Roger, -0.11, thank you.
10, Houston, if you've taken your helmets off, would remind you to open the suit circuit return valve.
All right, we're going to do that now.
Okay. Oh, Apollo 10, Houston, you got about 1 minute to Canary's LOS, Tanana Reef at 37.
Roger, Tanana Reef at 37, thank you.
Roger.
This is Apollo Control at 24 minutes into the mission. Canary Islands has loss of signal. Tanana will acquire Apollo 10 at 37 minutes. Apollo 10 is in a good orbit. Controllers here in the control center report all systems functioning well. The procedure that you heard passed up to the crew over the Canaries was to release some oxidizer in System B of the command module RCS. During a test on the pad when the isolation valves were open, it was discovered that a burst disc had opened also, and it allowed some liquid hydrogen to flow into the lines. The valve was then closed. The crew is now going through a procedure in which they will open an engine valve and allow this liquid hydrogen to vent through the engine. This was the talkiest crew on liftoff in the memory of anyone here in the control center. We have a tape of that powered portion of flight. We'll play that for you now.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, ignition, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. On your liftoff. Well, y'all maneuver. Roger. Clock is started. Right. And the big rascal is going. Oh, Roger. We're going. And low program, right on time. Roger, Tom. She's looking good, Charlie. Beautiful. Okay, pitch is tracking, looking good. Roger. Roll complete, ELS manual. Roger, roll. 10 Houston Mark, mode 1 Bravo. Roger, 1 Bravo. Starting to rattle a little bit in here. Roger. Cabin is relieving. Roger, copy. 2G, Charlie. Roger. Looking good at 1 minute. What a ride, babe. What a ride. Right. You're looking good, Ken. You're looking real good. Roger. Going 3 Max 2. Roger. Ken, you're through the Max 2. You're looking good. 2 1/4 G. She's looking good. Roger, copy, Tom. Ken, Mark, mode 1 Charlie, you're looking great. Roger, 1 Charlie and 2 G's at 2 is good. You're go for staging, Ken. Roger, 10's go. Inboard check out. Roger, inboard. We're on loop, Poco. Poco down. Roger, copy, Tom. EDS off, 10. Oh. Good staging lights out. Roger. And looks like we got a good S2.
the S2. It's looking good. Confirm EDS off.
ADS is off. I'll call her 2 minutes, Charlie.
Roger.
Plane set.
Roger.
There goes the tower.
Roger on the tower, and we confirm. Second plane set.
Okay. Man, that staging was quite a sequence.
Right, sounded like it.
And we have guidance initiate.
We confirm that, 10.
Roger.
The S2's looking beautiful, Tom. Everything's copacetic.
Roger. It looks good to be back up here, Charlie.
Yeah, I bet.
Just like old times. It's beautiful out there.
You guys sound ecstatic.
Man, this is the greatest, Charlie. Charlie, babe, it's fantastic, babe, really. Okay, 4 minutes.
Roger, 4 minutes. Your go. Trajectory and guidance look good.
Roger. We look right on the line on board.
10 Houston at 5 minutes. You're all go. All your systems are looking great.
Roger. 5 minutes. 10 is go.
Roger, right on the track.
Roger, Charlie.
10 Houston coming up on 6 minutes. You're looking beautiful.
6 minutes. Kilometers coming on. Pitch up. Let's go. Draw 1. Let's go. Pitch 2. Let's go. You got to. You got them all, Tom. Looks good. Charlie, you sure we didn't lose Snoopy on that staging?
Nah, I think Snoopy's still there with you. You're looking good. We copy your gimbal motors on, and your trim looks good.
Answer's tracking just beautiful.
Houston, mark S4B to orbit capability.
Just 4B to orbit capability.
10 Houston, coming up on 7 minutes. You're all go. We have nominal level sense arm 8 + 1 5, S2 cutoff 9 + 1 1.
German level sense arm 9 + 1 1 for S2.
Right.
.730 10 is good.
Right, looking good here.
Inboard shutdown.
Roger on the inboard, Tom. We confirm it. How's the ride? 10 Houston, 8 minutes. You're looking good. How's the ride?
Roger, fantastic, Charlie, fantastic.
Roger. 10 Houston, mark to level sense arm.
The level sense arm. Then looks good.
Roger, Apollo 10, you're a go for staging. Mark mode 4, Apollo 10, mode 4.
Mode 4. Staging.
Roger.
Separation.
Roger.
We got good ignition.
Roger. We confirm your guidance and your S4B looks good, 10.
Roger. Charlie, lots of stuff out the window at staging. We're catching up and passing it now.
Okay.
Okay. Guidance looks right on for the onboard flight, Charlie.
Right. We confirm that. Looking great here. You're looking beautiful.
Roger.
10 Houston at 10 minutes, your go.
For 10 minutes, go. Onboard's good.
Roger. Apollo 10, Houston predicted S4B cutoff 11 + 47.
11 + 47. And 10 looks good.
Roger, 10.
This is Apollo Control at 36 minutes, just about within acquisition at Tananarive. We have a report now from the flight surgeon on the heart rates of the crew during launch. Tom Stafford, 123, Gene Cernan, 120, John Young, 125. And the guidance officer just reported that all of the guidance systems look very good on Apollo 10. Tananarive will be acquiring Apollo 10 any second now. We'll stand by for any conversation through that station.
Apollo 10, this is Houston through Tananarive. How do you read, over?
That's astronaut Bruce McCandless putting in a call.
Apollo 10, this is Houston through Tananarive. How do you read, over?
Tananarive, Houston, contact net 1.
Houston, contact Tananarive.
Roger, can you confirm that Capcom is uplinking through your site?
Affirmative, you are uplinking.
Have you heard any downlink from the spacecraft?
Negative, no downlink.
Roger.
Apollo 10, this is Houston through Tananarive. Radio check, over. Apollo 10, this is Houston transmitting in the blind. Confirm simplex alpha, over.
This is Apollo Control. We've experienced considerable voice communication difficulties at Tananarive in past missions. Apparently we're having the same problem on this mission. We'll continue to stand by.
Apollo 10, this is Houston through Tananarive, over.
Houston, Apollo 10, transfer to Bravo, we're reading you loud and clear.
Roger, 10, now we're reading you loud and clear, Rod.
We've been reading you all the time down there. We've been trying to confirm the 362, and breaking on 0693 is minus 12 plus 34 and minus 76. It looks like the platform is real good.
Roger, 10, we copy. Understand platform is good.
And we will turn the command module ICSB heater off at the 32. That will give us 15 minutes on it.
Roger, we confirm that, and the prop ISO valves off to RCS propellant valves off.
That's affirmative, Charlie.
Okay.
Houston, Apollo 10, 5-speed on the transmitter is off scale high, which we expect for the heaters, and we again turn the heaters off at 4-3.
Say again, 10, you're fading in and out.
Roger, command module RCS heaters off at 4-3.
Roger, we copy off at 4-3. Houston, we expected that on the heaters. We'll have LOS here at Tananarive in 30 seconds. We'll see you over Carnarvon at 5-2.
I can understand 5-2, and our radiators appear to be working all right. Our glycol event outlet temperature is down around 58. Temperature is off scale low,
Roger, steam pressure off scale low.
That's the curve, and the evaporator outlet temperature is 58 degrees with the radiators apparently working.
Roger, we copy, Gene. And Apollo 10, Houston, if you read, we'd like you to close the primary back pressure valve again, over.
This is Apollo Control at 43 minutes. Apollo 10 is out of range at Tananarive. The purge of that oxidizer line on the command module RCS system has been completed. The system is in good shape. Gene Cernan reported the radiators on the spacecraft are working well. Carnarvon will acquire Apollo 10 at 52 minutes. This is Mission Control, Houston. This is Apollo Control at 52 minutes into the mission of Apollo 10. Carnarvon has acquired Apollo 10. We'll stand by for transmissions.
Hello, Apollo 10, Houston through Carnarvon, standing by.
Roger, Houston, this is Apollo 10. We're going through our ECS checklist, and everything looks good.
Roger, Tom. Tom's real great.
Roger, we got the, we could read you all the way through Tananarive, Houston, but evidently you couldn't read us come back in until the last. We got the heater off exactly at 15 minutes. The propellant valve is shut, the logic is off, and the breaker's open.
Roger, we copied, Tom.
Houston, Apollo 10, did you get our torquing angles on the IMU real line?
Right, Tom, you were pretty weak. What I copied was minus 0.12, plus 0.34, and minus 0.76.
Oh, Roger, and everything looks real good.
Right, could you give us the time that you torque those?
Stand by. It was 41 minutes even, Charlie. That's what I made special attention to that.
Right, thank you very much, John. 41 minutes, special attention.
Hello, Houston, this is 10.
Go ahead.
Okay, I guess you got my word on the off-scale low and the steam pressure on the primary loop.
Right, we've been discussing that, Gene, and stand by. We'll have some words on you for you.
Just rechecked the secondary loop, and it all looks good. And it, going through all our monitor checks and redundant component checks, looks like we got a good Charlie Brown here.
Right, good. Apollo 10, Houston, with some words on the primary evap.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Right, we'd like you to put the back pressure valve back to auto, or correction, manual. And we wondered if you went to auto on the H2O valve during launch.
That's firm, I sure did. I went to auto on the steam pressure valve and the water valve.
Okay, we want the steam pressure back to manual, and we're going to think about it a little bit more, and we might resurface later on.
Okay, fine. Looks like our radiators are beginning to carry the load. I'm looking at about 51 degrees on the evap outlet temp.
Right. Apollo 10, Houston, Gene, everybody thinks I might have given you the wrong word. Now, to clarify it, we want the back pressure valve closed. Over.
Okay, in other words, you want steam pressure auto switch to manual, you want me to go to increase, is that correct?
Affirmative.
Okay, well, in manual now I'll go to increase.
Houston, this is 10. You want me to leave the water flow and auto during after I do this?
Stand by. 10, Houston, you can leave the water valve in auto.
Roger, understand.
Hello, Apollo 10, Houston on the S-band through Honeysuckle. How do you read? Over.
Roger, Houston, Apollo 10, reading you loud and clear.
Roger, Tom, same old. The S-band is really great today.
Roger, I've never seen the comm better. It's great, Charlie.
Roger. Apollo 10, Houston, we'll have LOS at Honeysuckle at 1+06. We'll see you over Guaymas at 1+28.
Apollo 10, roger.
This is Apollo Control at 1 hour, 5 minutes into the mission. Station at Honeysuckle Creek in Australia has loss of signal. Flight Director Glenn Lunny has been taking checks with the controllers here in the Mission Control Center. Everybody gives him a go. The service propulsion system looks good. The reaction control systems on both the service module and the command module look very good. The environmental communications officer is pleased with his systems. There is one minor problem with ECOM. You heard Charlie Duke and Gene Cernan discussing steam pressure and evaporators during this Australian pass. There is a belief that the primary evaporator may have dried out. These evaporators, there's a primary and a secondary. They're used for cooling purposes when the radiators are not on the line. They cool by evaporating or boiling water. They're sometimes referred to as water boilers. We may reservice the water boiler, and again we may not. Econ wants to take a look at it over the States to see whether he thinks it needs to be reserviced. The radiators are working very well, and there's the secondary evaporator is in good shape, and we really have no need for the primary evaporator. So Econ will continue to take a look at that, but it is not really a problem. The station at Guaymas, Mexico will be next to acquire Apollo 10 at 1 hour, 28 minutes. This is Mission Control, Houston.
Yeah, the IUs, the fuse, just I would pick up there at the point. Who's that? Okay, I think we're set. At the request of many of you, you asked to have some of our people come over from the control center a little earlier. And we have Rocco Petrone, who is the Director of Launch Operations for the Kennedy Space Center. Rocco is also the launch director. the Apollo missions and the preparations and the countdown here at KSC. Now, for planning purposes, I think the best thing to do is the pass over Guaymas is going to be about 2:20. 2:20 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We suggest that we cut off the conference at that time, and certainly no later than that. We'd like Rocco to bring you up to date on the countdown operations and the mission as it stands at this time in orbit. We'll then take 10 minutes of questions from here at the press site, 5 minutes of questions from Houston, and then I think for everybody's benefit, I think it would be best to get back to the mission. There'll be maybe some angry or sad faces, but I hope you understand. We'll take 10 minutes here, 5 minutes in Houston. And we'd like you to wait for the mics when the questions come up. I'd now like to introduce Rocco Petrone, the launch director for Apollo 10.
Well, I'd like to summarize by saying we got off on time, which I guess you all know, and essentially had a smooth count. We did pick up the count, our terminal phase at 2:49 this morning. We had a few small difficulties to resolve during the count. However, we had purposely put in a 1-hour built-in hold at T-minus 3:30 in the count. Turned out the way things moved, we actually were about 30 minutes ahead of our preparation. At one time, Tom Stafford did kindly remind us that maybe on the next one we'd have the crew up to 20 minutes less. The problems we looked at, I guess I'd say the significant problems. One, we did have some concern of loss of pressure in the ground conditioning. This conditions the inner stage of the instrument unit and the S4B, the upper dome, which is where your liquid hydrogen is. We did see a loss in pressure right after picking up the terminal count. We did analyze that. From all we could see and assess, we were a bit concerned by the temperature. In other words, would it hold properly? And we assessed that it would, and I must say that it did. The temperature up there did function exactly like we saw it on countdown demonstration. And this unit, I must add, is only used to liftoff. And our concern then had to be, would we have the right temperatures in the instrument unit where all our electronics are at liftoff? And we did. There were one or two minor problems in the facility. When we brought up our liquid oxygen pump, we did find a fuse blown. We had to go out. We did have to readjust a helium regulator out on the launcher umbilical tower. Again, this came up right shortly after picking up the count. I would say after that, things did go very smoothly. The planned liftoff time was the time as set, 12:49. The S4B cutoff was actually 11:47, or 4 seconds more than planned, and insertion into orbit then would be 11:57. The parameters we achieved, and this now is early data, was 103.6 nautical miles by 101.1 nautical miles. I guess you all heard the transmission from the crew during the boost phase, and they seem to be both impressed and enjoying it immensely. There was one anomaly detected, I believe the only one to date, and that was the primary water boiler system dried out. And let me add, this is not part of the system we discussed at the press conference yesterday, which is a water separator system that takes water out or moisture out of the O2 loop, keeps the cabin at the right humidity. This is a boiler for cooling. It is one of two. The crew was requested to shift to the secondary. The secondary did come up properly. As I left the launch control center, the reports were coming in from Carnarvon, Australia. The second water boiler had come online properly. The first water boiler, they were getting ready to reservice. And this would be done on the pass over the States here. I must add, we have seen boilers dry out on previous launches. It's not an uncommon thing. And we have been able to bring them back up through a service-in procedure. I'm sure many of you who have followed the previous launches of Apollo will recall a number of water boiler dryouts. So we are going to attempt to reservice the primary. The secondary is now working. Now, let me also add that for TLI, our mission rules, our flight rules, do not call for either of the boilers to be up. Of course, we'd like them up. We have a radiator system aboard for primary cooling. The radiators in themselves are redundant. On Apollo 8, we learned that the heating load can be handled by the radiator loop itself, and there we have redundancy with two loops. The water boiler primarily serves the purpose of helping the radiator when a peak load comes in for a short transient. The water boiler is not functioning all the time. So then it sits there sort of on idle, ready to assist the radiator loop if there's a peak load. We feel from Apollo 8, and these rules were derived before this mission, that we understand the heating loads to the moon and in the vicinity of the moon, and therefore the rules do not require both boilers to be functioning for a go decision of TLI. I must add that's that element alone. As you all know, there are many, many other things being looked at now and will be looked at before the decision for TLI. Translunar injection can be made.
Exactly. Thanks, Rod. Could I take that 1 minute? Just before we go into the questions, there were some questions about the exact launch time. We had it at, I believe, 0.7 of a second off the planned launch time. We've refined that a little bit. It's 569 milliseconds off the planned launch time of 12:49 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
I'd like to add to that, we've had 5 Saturns, and I've referred to the time of takeoff as the way we set our clock. There always is a question of a few milliseconds, but when I see one of these large ones take off, I'm willing to accept that it's 12:49.
Okay, I guess we're ready to go into questions now. There's going to be many press conferences before this mission is over. I'd like to suggest that we confine the questions, if possible, to what has transpired thus far. Mr. Whitkin?
Boilers working for TLI?
Dick, we do not. The mission rule, actually, we can go without either boiler because the radiators, which are redundant unto themselves, do take the prime load. The boiler is just an assist. Of course, we'd like to have it up, and we're going to attempt to reservice on this next pass over the States.
Reg?
Was there any repetition of the vibration that you got on 8 and 9 with the center engine?
I did not hear in the conversation from the crew any comment on the vibration. Tom did say, Tom Stafford, I believe as the S1C was getting ready to go through Max Q, I believe he said something like, things are starting to shake in here. What he was referring to, I'm presuming, is the normal buffeting. That is not the thing we have seen. There was some other conversation later down the line, but I do not recall myself hearing any reference to this thing we have referred to as POGO, or the vertical oscillation.
Please wait for the mic as we go along so we can record all your questions. Go ahead, Harry.
Harry Pease, Milwaukee Journal. I wonder if Rocco could say a word about the RCS pre-valve opening, what occurred there and how was it cured?
Okay. In the checks that were going on, this came up somewhere about 10 o'clock last night, and we did discuss it amongst the many parties involved, both here and at Houston, the designers at Downey, California. What had happened in servicing, there is a thing called a diaphragm that prevents the fuel from going down to the valves. Now we have two systems, A and B, in the reaction control system for the command module. On the oxidizer side of system B, the diaphragm, you might say, gave way, letting the fluid go down to the main valve. Now in flight, it's going to do exactly this. As you pressurize your tanks, now this would happen on reentry, the fluid would go down to the main valve. In looking at the status, it was decided that there's also an isolation valve, which we have in there. These are two valves in series. There's a main valve and an isolation valve. We could use the isolation valve as the diaphragm in a sense. Therefore, it was decided, mainly so there would be no pressure buildup while in space, to close the isolation. They would normally be closed, vent out by opening that valve. Now this would not burn at this time, it would vent, and I believe the S was about 3.6 pounds of oxidizer. In order to vent it out of that line, close it, then in effect we have the two valves closed, both of which we have the leak test characteristics of, and in a sense the isolation valve then is doing the function of the diaphragm, which had broken, let an oxidizer get down to the main valve of the reaction control system, again on system B, one of the two redundant systems.
Go ahead, Harry. No, I think he has a follow-up there.
In the Gemini 8, when you pop the pre-valves on the RCS system, you considered that reason for ending the mission. How does this differ?
That wasn't the... oh, wait a minute, I'm not sure. Maybe it was the entry.
I really cannot compare this hardware with the Gemini. I'm not that familiar with it, with the Gemini spacecraft. I do know roughly what you're referring to. I recall the mission, but the exact hardware here, by having the isolation valve we can close, and by having the main valve, in effect, we have a system there. See, it's not pressurized at this time. We have another valve upstream keeping high pressure off of the fuel system until we re-enter. At that time, we say we blow a squib valve, that lets pressure come in, then that puts that system under high pressure. Right now the system is under something like 25 to 30 pounds. So it's very low pressure in there, and with two valves, we don't see, have any concern of it leaking.
Go ahead, Dick.
How do you service this boiler when it comes over the States next time?
Dick, the crew, when a boiler dries out, there is a checklist procedure. We go through this in the altitude chamber when we make our runs here with the crew. The various steps essentially are to let water in, let it in at a certain rate, and then you want to get boiling. The boiler is exposed to the vacuum of space, and as you achieve a water flow through there at a certain rate, you then get boiling on one side as you let water come in the other. As the water boils up in space, it cools the boiler, and we then take water glycol through there to be cooled as it goes through these plates. The procedure, as I say, has been used many times in space. Some of you may recall on Apollo 8, I recall once as the crew, as it was coming around the moon, they reported that the water boiler had dried out and they serviced it. I know on re-entry, I believe there was a dry out of one of the boilers, and Bill Anders, in effect, did some servicing as the command module was on its re-entry path before, of course, it entered the atmosphere. It's a fairly well-known procedure, and they'll be going through this very shortly. When I say well-known, and we've used it many times.
We appear to have a three-man conference going here. Go ahead, Reggie.
Sorry, but I have an uneasy feeling you're trying to tell us that translunar injection is looking a bit doubtful. Could you estimate the chance?
I don't believe I've said that, and I've not mean to leave that impression. At the same time, we haven't said yes. We allow ourselves, as you know, an orbit and a half onto the second orbit. I've said at this time, our mission rules do not call for both boilers to be online for the reasons I explained at quite some length. I've not said we're looking doubtful.
Okay,
however, I do want to say we've got more to look at across the spectrum.
All right, we'll take three more questions from here, the hands I see right now. Mary, go ahead. These two right here, and then we'll switch to Houston.
Mary Bubb, Fairchild Publications. Rocco, why do these things go dry? Is this sort of a characteristic of the beast?
Mary, I cannot answer that thoroughly because I'm saying in looking at it, if we knew, we would take steps to put a fix in. When you say characteristic, I personally have to say yes, we do see this happen. We've seen it happen in our altitude chamber runs, but exactly why, it was like this service situation we had yesterday with this wick and wetting of it. There are sometimes conditions that force you to repeat it, but we don't know exactly why.
In here.
Mr. Petrone, can you run through the figures for ignition and cutoff times for the various stages and the staging sequences?
Okay, again, we took off at 12:49, and I'll take the milliseconds to myself and say 00. S1C center engine cutoff was at 2 minutes, 14.7 seconds. The outboard engine cutoff on the S1C was 2 minutes, 41.1 seconds. S1C, S2 separation was 241.8. I think all of you will recall that Tom said that's quite a sight. And each one of the crew, when they've returned in the debriefing, have spoken of that sequence of staging. It must be quite a jolt and quite a sight. S2 ignition was 242.5. We jettisoned, the second plane separation was at 3 minutes, 11.5 seconds. Center engine cutoff on the second stage was 7 minutes, 40.1 seconds. S2 outboard engine cutoff was 9 minutes, 12 seconds. S2 S4B separation was 9 minutes, 12 second, 0.9. S4B ignition, 9 minutes, 13 seconds. Then S4B cutoff, it was 11:47. I believe that was the number I had.
Okay, Tom, we'll take the last question here, and then we'll switch to Houston.
Colonel Petrone, that big cloud that was in front of that's kind of obscured the rocket as it was going up the tower, is that because the flame pads on this launch pad are different, or shaped differently, or point different?
No,
direction?
they're pointed the same. The flame trench is north-south on both pads. However, pad B is somewhat west. So from this press site, your angle of looking at the plane would be a little different. But the trenches, the flame trench, is exactly the same on pad A, pad B, same orientation.
8,700 feet between the two pads. Okay, we're now ready to switch to Houston for about 5 minutes of questions there, please.
Jack, let me take a few seconds. This is Houston, to see if the conference there has generated any questions among the newsmen who are here in the auditorium. Hold one. Evidently, hold on.
This is directed to Mr. Patron. Rocco, when will we know, and you know, whether the boiler situation is such that TLI can be made?
Point out again that it's not.
I'd like to point out again that that status of that boiler, according to our pre-planned mission rules, the primary boiler does not have to be in a functioning condition to make TLI. We are going to attempt to service it. As I left the control center about 30 minutes ago, we were going to attempt that as we made this pass over the States, attempt to reservice to the primary boiler. The secondary boiler was functioning properly.
Will the first part of that question be answered again? We didn't get the transmission here in Houston.
The decision for translunar injection does not depend upon the primary boiler being reserviced. I gave the reasons at the first part of the conference here that the main part of the cooling load, that's the purpose of this boiler and radiator, the main part will be taken by two radiators for the planned mission. The boiler, in effect, sits there to help when you reach a peak condition. During the Apollo 8 mission, for the planned profile, it was seen that essentially the boilers could handle the radiators could handle the load by themselves that we could expect. So therefore, the boilers do not become mandatory for the translunar injection decision.
The center engine of the second stage was cut off about 2 minutes early. Was this an attempt to prevent pogo?
It was cut off early with the times I gave earlier because there were oscillations observed both on Apollo 8 and Apollo 9. And as we continue to study, and this is still under active study, we just felt it was prudent to cut the engine off before we get into the time frame of the engine giving us these oscillations. The oscillations appear to depend upon the height of the liquid in the stage. So at a certain time when you know your height, we cut that engine off. We compensated for it by burning longer. This was all planned, and the S2 did perform according to plan.
This is Houston. That's all the questions that have been generated here. We'll return it back to you, Cape.
Okay, thank you very much. I do have several announcements here. The latest number we have on the first television pass would be at starting at 3:49 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, if all goes well. Second matter of interest to the press here particularly, Barbara Cernan was here to observe the launch, and if the mission continues in this manner, she would be happy to meet the press, anybody who desires to interview her. She will be available at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at the Quality Courts Motel in Cocoa Beach. I think there's two pools there. I'll have to find out which one it is. Just a minute, we have a little statement here. Mrs. Barbara Cernan, wife of Apollo 10 lunar module pilot Gene Cernan, will meet the press at 5 p.m. today at poolside behind the Quality Courts Gemini Room in Cocoa Beach. All media representatives who wish to cover Mrs. Cernan's conference may either drive their own vehicles to the motel or ride one of the NASA buses departing the press site for Cocoa Beach following the post-launch press conference. I guess one final thing, we had planned another conference here for after TLI and after the television pass. We will not have Mr. George Lowe, who we thought was going to participate. He wants to fly back directly to Houston. The participants would be Dr. Von Braun, Dr. Debus, Mr. Lee James from the Marshall Space Flight Center, and in all probability, Rocco again. Are you people interested in a conference such as that? It would be obviously quite launch-oriented. Somebody say something. Okay, we'll have it. Thank you very much. We'll see you after TLI. Yes, it will be out here. I can't give, the time will be after the TV pass, so let me see. I guess we'll hack it in and let's, what did I say, 3:49, probably in the area of 4:30, I would expect, 4:15 to 4:30. I think everybody is going to be tied up in one variation or another on TLI, and then the television passed. So why don't we take a hack at 4:30 as a time. Thank you.
This is Apollo Control at 1 hour 40 minutes. Apollo 10 has just passed over the east coast of the United States. We're still in contact at Grand Bahama. The crew has extended the docking probe. John Young reported he could hear it go out. And Charlie Duke has passed up the TLI information and also some pads for several abort times right after TLI. We have the tape of this pass over the United States starting at Guaymas. We'll play that for you now.
Hello, Apollo 10, Houston, through Guaymas, standing by.
Roger, Houston, with you loud and clear.
Roger, you're 5-by.
Okay, we're ready to extend the docking probe when you are.
Roger, stand by.
Got to get a go on that temperature measurement.
10, Houston, we're ready for you to extend the docking probe, and you'll have to stand by on the temp till we get high bit rate.
Roger. One, we'll count down to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, extend.
Roger, copy.
5 to 4, wind great.
Roger.
We can feel the plug.
Roger.
Yeah, you could hear it go out. I believe it's all the way out.
Roger, you say you heard it go out?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, we'll have that P27 for you over Bermuda at about 1+40, and we got a TLI plus 90 pad if you're ready to copy, Gene.
Stand by. Roger, TLI plus 90. Go ahead, Charlie.
Roger, TLI plus 90, STS/GNN 63556 minus 148 plus 135 003 55 4487 minus 05484 minus 4 balls 1 plus 66232 180 239er 001. Apogee is NA. Perigee is plus 00175. 66458. Burn time 737. 66199er. 24 2087 167.
Hello, Houston, this is 10.
Go ahead.
Houston, we lost S-band for a second there. I got everything through HANA. Go after that.
Okay, Gene, HP is plus 00175 66458 737 Delta VC 66199er 24 2087 167. Foresight star is Shala, and it's left 008 down 27 minus 2605 minus 02500 11229er 33 Niner, Niner 3. 0, 1, 2, 5, 5, 3, 5. Okay, your set stars are Denham and Vega at 0, 6, 7, 2, 8, 3, 3, 3, 7. No ullage. And your P37 for TLI plus 4 is 0, 0, 6, 3, 0, 6, 3, 7, 3. The longitude is minus 165. GET 400K is 02221. Ready for your readback.
Okay, Charlie, here it comes. SPS GNN 63556, minus 148, plus 135, 003, 554487, minus 05484, minus 4 balls 1, plus 66232. You with me?
Go ahead.
180-239-001, apogee is NA, perigee is plus 00175, 66458, 737, 661 Niner, 24, 2087, 167. Foresight stars shallow, left 008, down 27, minus 2605, minus 02500. 1122 Niner, 33 Niner 3, 0125535. Still there?
Keep going.
Okay, Denham and Vega, 067283, 337, no ullage. TLI plus 4, 00630, 6373, minus 165022221, and you're just a little bit fast on those reads, Charlie. I was barely able to keep with you.
Roger, Gene. Sorry about that. That was a good read back, and we got the TLI pad if you're ready to copy.
Stand by one. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. Time base 6P is 22425. 179er. 116. 3 balls. Burn time 543. 104376. 35603. 358 151 040. TLI plus 10-minute abort pitch angle is 267. Standing by for your readback.
Okay, TLI is 22425, 179er, 116000. Burn time is 543 1043763 35603. Roll is 358 151040, and our TLI plus 10-minute pitch is 267 degrees.
Right. The burn looks going to look real nominal. The step angles, everything's real nominal, and your backup S4B cue cards are okay. Pitch and yaw, everything looks good.
That's great, Charlie. We'll be coming over the top of here pretty soon.
Right. You ought to be right over. 10, Houston on the TLI. We got a string of 9s on the probability for a guided cutoff.
Can't beat that.
Sure can.
You're doing good work so far, Charlie.
So are you guys. And you guys sounded ecstatic on that boost.
Babe, you ain't seen nothing until you seen that S1C stage.
Would you care to elaborate?
I will later.
Okay.
It's real smooth in between the start and the end of its burn.
Yeah.
It's moved up the whole structure unloaded on us when we staged.
Yeah, I kind of felt like you were pulling yourself off from the 8-ball there.
Well, it's more like a structural program. We'll tell you about it later.
Okay, Chris says don't forget now after 8 days.
Okay.
Hello, 10 Houston. We got our loaded Bermuda. We're ready to go if you'll give us accept.
Accepted. We're in through go.
Right. Hello, Apollo 10, Houston. We got the load in okay. You can go back to blocking. The computer is yours.
Sure got blocked.
Punch.
Houston, Apollo 10, what's your latest orbit show?
Stand by. 10 Houston, we're showing you in a 107 by 104.
Roger, thank you.
Hello, Apollo 10, Houston. We think that your primary evap is definitely dried out, but we're going to leave it as is, and if we have to, we'll reservice out to TLI.
Okay, after I closed the valve, it started off the low peg, and now it's drifted off to a reading about 0.24.
Roger.
Roger, spacecraft temp has started to cool down, and we feel real good in here.
Right, good, Tom. 10, Houston, we'll have you through the Canaries till about 1 plus 5.5, except for about a 30-second break at about 1 plus 4.3 when we go from Vanguard to the Canaries. Correct?
Roger.
A short break at about 1 plus 4.9, excuse me.
Roger.
10, Houston, how's the view from up there? Your windows all look good?
Windows are all clear. Gene has a white streak across his external, just a white streak on the right window.
Right, we copy. But how wide is it? Is it significant at all, Tom?
No, it's, Charlie, it looks like someone took a little thin paintbrush and just stabbed it across from top to bottom on the right-hand window.
Right. And 10, Houston, with the high bit rate, that probe temp's hanging right in there at 85.
Thank you.
Hello, Apollo 10, Houston, through the Canaries, standing by. We're go for the power arm at any time.
Okay, Charlie, I'll get it right now.
Okay.
6 logic about in the breakers, logic 1 and logic 2 are coming on.
Right, stand by. Uh, 10, Houston, would you verify that the 6 arm breakers are closed?
Roger, 6 arms coming close now. A, B.
Roger. And 10, Houston, your power system looks good. We're go.
Okay, arm at just before TLI.
Roger, Tom. And we'd like you to go up telemetry command reset at Canaries LOS.
Say again?
Roger, at Canaries Roger, at Canaries LOS, you can go up telemetry command to reset.
Sure. Houston, Apollo 10, we're donning our helmets and gloves now.
Roger. Houston, everybody in the room is happy as can be. You're looking great. We'll have LOS at Canaries at 1 plus 5.6. We'll see you over at Canana Reef at 2 plus 0.9.
All right, 10, Roger.
This is Apollo Control. The Canary Islands station has loss of signal. We're 37 minutes, 22 seconds away from the translunar injection burn of the third stage of the Saturn V, the S4B stage. TLI planned for 2 hours, 33 minutes, 25 seconds. At that time, the engine will burn for a duration of 5 minutes, 43 seconds to place Apollo 10 on the way to the moon. Delta V added to the present velocity of 10,438 feet per second. The present orbital parameters, 107 by 104 nautical miles. The ground controllers do feel that the primary evaporator has dried out. However, we will not reservice the evaporator until after the translunar injection burn. Crew reports that the cabin is comfortable. Got a window report. Tom Stafford reporting the windows clear. One thin white streak on Gene Cernan's window, which is no problem. The next station to acquire will be Carnarvon at 2 hours, 25 minutes. This is Mission Control, Houston.